Hey everyone, so this is a psychic reading into Putin's mind and what is going on in Ukraine behind the scenes, or, what's just really going on. So before I get into this, I want to leave a disclaimer, which is that the way that I get information is through visions, things that I see, and these are not necessarily literal. These are usually symbolic, but they can be literal as well. And I don't expect everything that I say to be 100% exactly what's going to happen. So I ask that you take this all with a big grain of salt. With that said, I've spent a couple hours reading this and writing down the things that came to me. So I'll go ahead and get into it. Inside Putin's mind, psychic reading. I see Putin being more mad at the US than Ukraine itself. I see this vicious snarl come to his face when he thinks of the United States, but when it comes to Ukraine, he kind of shrugs his shoulders and he's like, whatever. He's not really interested in much except for this obsession with strategy and planning. There's no way you can distract him, or he's not going to give in to temptation of any kind. He's just so obsessed with strategy and planning. I do get that within this strategy of his, there's more complexity than meets the eye. It's more sound and more secure than what the news is making it out to be. He is very precise and smart about what he is doing. The mistakes that are being reported on the news that he is making they're not seeing the whole picture of complexity. So maybe the mistakes aren't necessarily as much of a failure on his part as the news is making it out to be. He's interested more in resources like oil and ocean access, or something of a similar nature. I can't say for sure that it's oil, but I think that may be involved, or could be something similar to that. There's a focus on submarines and ships, and again, I don't know what that means, but submarines and ships, there's something there. There is a lot of secrecy around his plans of using resources that is not your typical economics. There's something secret going on there. There's a complex political aspect to this that involves top secret information, or top secret international information. There's something scientific about this that is above Putin's head, but he wants in on it. So there is a very complex science, or something of very fine precision and findings, possibly involving whales or something of a similar nature, that being big and heavy. Again, this is symbolic, and I don't entirely know what this is. Putin doesn't even understand what is going on himself. These top secret scientists, at least that's the way that I'm seeing them, represented as scientists, seem to be running the show. They are plotting an international political move that would create stability for Russia's power. And not necessarily that they are plotting it themselves, but that they are the foundation of that move. Putin looks very angry about the power dynamics going on and wants this to happen desperately. He wants in on this. He wants to have power over this. I see scientists taking samples of dirt and saying, "Sir, we are working on it," to Putin, while Putin is being impatient about it because he wants the power now. There's some delicate situation being worked out on an intellectual level, as if studies need to be performed. Scientists are finding things out and they're saying, this is going to be great, and Putin cheers up. This doesn't look like it's a threat to the US or the rest of the world, not like a deadly threat, but it looks like it will stabilize their power in Ukraine, that being Russia's power in Ukraine, and it will stabilize their country as well. That seems to be the main thing going on here. And if they get that, that will stop the progression of the war, or at least stop any increase in the aggression taking place. They seem happy with only a partial level of invasion and want control over the western half and southern half of Ukraine for special operations. So basically, if you're looking at the map, it's the right and the bottom section of Ukraine. They want all of that. This is an invasion and a war, but there is also some sort of special operation going on here as well. So I don't think he's entirely lying when he calls it that. I see labs being set up as if processing something or refining materials for production. This is related to the access to the ocean and water for means of production. Or at least there's some sort of connection between those. They may use the water for something. Putin wants to establish this system of economic production more than he wants to take over all the territory of Ukraine. So it's not necessarily about just taking the land. There's something deeper going on here. There is a sense of threats being sent to Joe Biden from Putin that are top secret, but there's also some sense of cooperation between the two of them, which is interesting. It's as if they are working together, but also in competition with each other at the same time. There is more cooperation than what we are led to believe. This involves stabilization of governmental control and trade, but also functional systems used by all countries, like shared resources, similar to a bridge that is used by everyone. Biden is like, well, I don't like the guy, but we have to work with him. Putin wants control of the ocean. There's something coming his way that is really bothering him and making him obsessed, unable to sleep, or even care about indulgences of any kind. This looks like it could be either complete failure or success. He may end up behind bars if he fails. I just saw a vision of him behind bars as something in his mind that's worrying him. He's looking for security, and that's a big one. I don't see worldwide domination as his agenda as much as security for himself. If he can establish security for himself, he will be mostly happy with that. He is writing secrets down on a paper that he is putting in a special place to share with privileged people in case he dies. He wants this information and his legacy to be passed down. This is not about being remembered. It's about the material he is obsessed with and the agendas involved with it. The chess game he is involved in is more important than his public image. He is stubborn on winning this battle. This involves many different forces that are much more complex and based in ideology that we would not understand. This goes back to royalty, or has aspects of royalty involved. It looks like this goes way back into ideology of the distant political history of our past. This is stuff that would be misunderstood by the public eye and misrepresented by false stereotypes that do not give it justice, if tried to explain to the public. Inner workings of complexity and meanings that we wouldn't relate to are involved. This is somewhat top secret information. Maybe not somewhat, maybe mostly top secret information. The public of Russia doesn't even understand this information. There is loyalty to specific lineages throughout time that are shrouded in mystery. He is somewhat of a pawn in this and is nervous in comparison to these bigger forces behind the surface of the public eye. He's working for them to some degree, but is also working with them and standing up for his own individuality within it at the same time. He's not a slave as much as a player in the game. Russian roulette comes to mind. He has signed contracts with the underground scientific community, or at least that's how I see them symbolically, and he must follow orders. There is a giant network of secrecy and power that he doesn't want to be cut off from. This new scientific strategy being worked out is also related to Biden, but Biden understands even less of the details and is more so focused on pushing a narrative that is an agenda used as a strategy on top of the understanding of what is going on. Biden is more focused on controlling the public eye. Putin is more in the know, but has a disability when it comes to the international politics of the public eye. Biden doesn't necessarily understand what is going on and is taking orders from the military, or something similar to the military, if not the military. Putin wants this power to strengthen his country and establish a stronger empire. I do not get that he wants to destroy the US as much as have power over half the world and strengthen it to the point of being superior. This is like gold running through his hands. I saw an image. He is grinning with black oil, like substance, that is like the ring from the Lord of the Rings. His entire being is dedicated to this cause. He wants to build the richest empire that would dwarf the US in comparison. So why is he invading Ukraine? Things that came to my mind. That may not be quite entirely the whole picture or literally so, but regardless, this is what showed up for me. To get oil reserves, underground pipes, get the gold, so to speak, get rich. And also, this is a secret plan, like a secret weapon against the West. This is as if he has found a secret trick or a magic trick to his success, and he must have it. I do see him getting it, but it being taken away from him. It looks like he was very close, but stronger powers got it from him in the future, that is. This is not the US. This is underground forces similar to a non-governmental organization with lots of political power. I see a royal crescent symbol that represents the right to rule, and it is over the area of Ukraine that is at the bottom. It kind of looks like an island that's separated from the rest of the main continent. So I saw a crescent symbol there, representing the right to rule. Something about this area being useful, but it requires Russia to also have 2/3 of Ukraine, approximately, under their power in order to function properly. And I already described what areas that would be, but it would basically be all of Ukraine except for the east north part of it. So on the map, that would be on the top left of the continent, or the country. And so they may just actually let that place be. So I see that place potentially being still Ukraine. Something about fish showing up. Possible contamination. Possible mutating fish. And this needing to be controlled. By Russia, that is. Fish may be dying. There could be massive water pollution or radioactivity. This is not related to a nuke. They do not want to nuke the land. It would destroy the reserves. I see a diamond symbol on a map of Ukraine near the bank on the mainland. That is something of interest to Putin. So that would be, if there's Ukraine, the bottom of Ukraine, there's that little island that I was talking about. I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about above that, where the main continent ends and meets the water. Just a little bit above that in the center, there's this spot where I saw a diamond symbol. And it's something of interest to Putin in that location. There is something almost magical about this. I see there being a sense of selfishness involved from Putin, but I don't see full-out black magic here. This seems to be just left of neutral on the spectrum. It is on the darker side, but more so gray magic than black magic, so to speak. He is not quite as bad as people make him out to be, but he is also very selfish and willing to do whatever he needs in order to establish his power over the area. This is almost more important than life or death to him. This is his chance to establish and secure his economic power. I see internal struggles taking away his power eventually. He may still have some power here, but it is as if he has to share it. As if he is forced to have partial ownership of the new system he is trying to create. This could involve trade routes, natural resources, means of production, and technology, or something along those lines. Biden thinks Putin is crazy for trying this stunt and thinks of it as someone trying to grab a cookie only to have it slapped out of their hand. There is some truth to this. I do see Putin gaining some power here, though, through the process of what he's doing, but still not getting as much as he would like. This does seem to benefit him more than Biden would have thought. This doesn't seem to benefit Biden, though. International scientists are benefiting in the advancement in creating a more efficient way of production, technology, weapon, or way of regulating power, or something of that nature. There are secretive powers with a great means of destruction that Putin is battling, and this is behind the scenes. And he wants to steal their power and use it for himself. I see him get up from his chair and hide behind it when an explosion goes off. He calls his security and he eyes the explosion and the combat in the air as if to rip out their heart and steal their power. The most menacing glare. And by the way, he has lots of security behind him. Massive intelligence. This is related to airstrikes, and it is like a secretive version of NATO that is highly advanced in their technology and weapons. And I'm talking about the forces that are battling him. He sees hidden political powers that he admires and wants to mimic, even though they are in competition with him. This is a different power structure, though, the one that I just said he is admiring and somewhat mimicking while being in competition. Different power structure, and he is less at odds with them and somewhat works with them, but is also trying to trick them and deceive them at the same time. These are people more associated with the US elite. He sees those who are fighting for justice kind of as a different group of people, a different movement, a different force in the world, I guess you would call it. He sees those fighting for justice in the world as helpful and something he smiles upon for their benefit to the stability of the planet and creating organization in the world that he is also very much so about. However, he says, "Puh, what a bunch of pussies." And he sees them as weak and deficient in their stability due to being too open and not hard and cold in their strategies. He sees them as failing due to a lack of offensive defense. He looks to take advantage of the situations they create and to use them when necessary. However, he enjoys their work because it complements his advancement in the world of creating a safe space that he can take advantage of. This is confusing because there is something that he admires about them as well, like a snake that admires the mice before devouring them. There is something here that is complex, and I can't do it justice with words. He finds them funny on some level, as if he sees them falling for tricks, as if watching a young man growing up to be similar to himself. So again, take this all with a big grain of salt, and don't take this too literally either. But I hope that you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, you can always give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you are subscribed, make sure you hit that notification bell and put it on to all notifications so that you get notified by all the videos that I post. And thank you for watching, and have a great day.